communities, different cities, countries around the world. I wanted to speak actually a bit today about Kosovo, the Jewish community in Kosovo, and it was part of the Yugoslavia once upon a time. Let's just get a bit of the science behind the Jewish community there. Maybe was there famous Rabbanim there, and so on and so forth. So we know that Kosovo, the country itself, was part of the Ottoman Empire. Kosovo was conquered by Serbia during the First Balkan War in the year 1912. This conquest was accompanied by significant Serbian national, let's say, chauvinism against ethnic Albanians and Turks, many of whom were compelled to leave. It is not clear how the tiny Jewish population was impacted, according to one of the websites I'm using over here. Serbia and other regions became obviously Yugoslavia after the First World War. Most of the Albanian majority territory later split from Serbia in the year 2008. Now Kosovo, I believe, had a small Jewish population. Originally, I think the vast majority was of Sephardic origin. Now it's reported that presumably Sephardic Jews settled in an area called Novo Berda, district of Pristina, in 1498 or 1499, right at the end of the 15th century, and were possibly involved in iron processing. Later, the community was reported to be involved in tin smithing. This was reported over. Now, it's actually interesting. There's a British historian with the name Noel Malcolm. He actually writes that at the end of the 19th century, this was in end of 1800s, 305 Spanish-speaking Jews lived in Pristina, the capital of Kosovo. In 1910, it was an estimated as many as 3,000 lived in all of Kosovo at that stage of time. It's reported the Tofane, let's just say, of Valenia districts were the center of Jewish life in Pristina, respectively, over there. It's also reported that many Jews lived on the Divan Yori Street, which is today I think known as UCK Street, and the population census, I think, in 1991 recorded 112 Jews in all of Kosovo, so that was much, much less than it was. Now, it's actually interesting. I believe in the late 19th century, the Jewish community was led by Rabbanim Rubin, his name, and the rabbi there was Rabbi Sabat Kahmi. Now, I tried to search information with regards to Rabbi Kahmi. I couldn't really find anything online, so if anyone can add anything on the footnotes, if you're watching this, I really appreciate it. One source claims that there was once 3 synagogues in Pristina. A synagogue, the Habra synagogue, was built in Pristina in the 19th century on the site of today's government of the Kosovo building. It was taken apart stone by stone and reconstructed at Zija, Pristina, where today I think it functions as a station center for contemporary art. Today the community has no synagogue and attends services in Skopje in North Macedonia, respectively. That's very interesting. Now, let's find out a bit more information with regards to the Kosovo Jewish community. I think it's very good to do a special edition of it. People like to hear what goes on in the different countries and so on and so forth. So anyone tuning in at the moment, we're doing a special edition today. We're trying to learn about the history of the Kosovo Jewry, respectively, here on this special edition, and it's always welcome, let's just say. I think Between the Walls, the association, I think it was, of the Jewish religious communities of the kingdom, let's just say, this kingdom of Serbs, Croats and Slovenes, had 2 member associations in what is, I think, now Kosovo, respectively, in Pristina and in Mitrovica. They were both Sephardim and Ashkenazim. There was someone named Mandil S. Abram and his sons Nissim, Itzhak, and someone named Johan were major exporters of grain, Kosovo, to Saloniki, but apparently they went bankrupt in the year 1932. We're talking about here from the time of recording, 1932. It's approximately at this stage in time 93 years ago, I believe. Here we are in 2025. We'll have to point that out. Okay, let's continue here. There's much more. There's various articles I'm using from the internet within regards to this, as it is very detailed, let's just say, in of itself. Now, more can be said. Kosovo Jews in the Second World War, over there. Before the Second World War, there was a Jewish community in the city of Pristina and a smaller one in Bushtaria. Names known in the Jewish community include Bahar, Navon, Reuben, Adizhez, Levi, Cohen, and Conforti. Now, I believe we've spoken about Conforti before. I think there was a rabbi at one stage in time, one window of time, that had the name Conforti. I think they actually covered inside this series. So if anyone is related, please let me know. And I think there's more reported. I think there's more researches done by PhD and students. And so now the Jewish cemeteries in Kosovo, there are Jewish cemeteries in the Arbeta and Velina districts of Kosovo. The Arberikia cemetery dates from the 19th century. Restoration work was undertaken in the year 2019. Now the Velina cemetery, I think, was restored in 2008 with financial support from the Czech Republicans, the part of the old Czechoslovakia. There are 117 graves, 44 of which have marble stones. They date, I think, from the 17th century, mostly Sephardic. It's also called, I think, the Takbashk. I hope I pronounced that correctly also. And the gravestones were unfortunately desecrated. Unfortunately, you see the anti-Semitism was swastikas in the year 2011. It's reported over. You can see the disgraceful anti-Semitism all throughout Jewish history, and unfortunately now also. Now the Jewish community in Kosovo, let's just say, of yesteryear, they include merchants, physicians, craftsmen, and other active members of society who worked at other occupations. Living and working in many parts of Kosovo, they had their own synagogues, obviously, which we spoke about, which survived the Ottoman period, but were demolished by the communist regime in the year 1963. And I think we've spoken about this before. Also, they had their own yeshiva, apparently, reported about. I'd like to know more about that. Their municipality, 2 cemeteries, and their private properties. However, traces of their heritage can still be in the old ruins that survive to this day. In fact, I think that Pristina also once held the most famous Jewish bazaar in this region of the Balkans. Both of these buildings were destroyed as part of the communist policy to destroy the historical memory of this community in Kosovo and beyond. So once again, the anti-Semitism we can see from over here. Unfortunately, after the capitulation of Italy in 1943 and with the arrival of the Germans, 258 Jews were deported horrifically to the Nazi concentration camp Bergen-Belsen in Germany, where unfortunately 92 Jews from Kosovo were killed. Inside the ones we had, the author of this article I'm reading had family members who both perished, maybe also survived also similarly. In 1948, with the establishment of Medinat Israel, the State of Israel, a considered number of Jewish community members migrated to Israel. Until 1999, in Kosovo lived 329 Jews. I think there's a source actually from the Pristina City Archive within regards to this, which currently the only Jewish community living in Kosovo resides in prison and consists of only 16 families. I don't know how big the families are, possibly quite small families. And there's much more reported over. I think they say small number of Jews fleeing, just going back earlier on, fled Northern Europe, are known to have arrived what is Kosovo today in the Middle Ages, when the territory was part of Serbia, and after 1455, the Ottoman Empire, they were joined by refugees following the expulsion of both Jews from Spain and Portugal in the late 15th century. We're just going back a bit over here. By the mid-18th century, about 1,000 Jews lived in the territory, and as many as 1,750 on the eve of World War I. Now, just going back again, after World War I actually occurred, Kosovo mainly populated by ethnic Albanians at that point in time. It was included in the Kingdom of Yugoslavia, as we said on the outset. Around 500 Jews lived in Kosovo region at the outbreak of World War II in 1940. Yeah, so that's interesting. Now, I think come with the year 1941, I think Kosovo was incorporated in Italian-controlled Greater Albania. Then in 1942, it was put under German rule before communist partisans recaptured Kosovo from Albania and made it part of, let's say, the Democratic Federal Yugoslavia. In 1944, it was administered as an autonomous province of Serbia. It was reported over. That's what was an exportive call at that point in time. So there's a lot of good notes of it. In the aftermath of the Second World War, as we said before, the Federation of Jewish Communities in Yugoslavia, with its headquarters in Belgrade, was formed until the breakup of Yugoslavia and outbreak of the wars in the 1990s. Just over 100 Jews live in Kosovo, as we said before. During the 1990s conflict, highly documented, the majority would flee to Serbia or to Israel. Now today, I think there's different amounts chronicled how many people actually live in Kosovo. Another source of it says 50 members. I think it's actually reciting the most current edit of the Wikipedia website. Few sites of Jewish heritage remained in Kosovo, There are obviously, as we said on the outset, there are 2 Jewish cemeteries in the capital of Pristina, but there may be a trace of half a dozen other cemeteries. The last synagogue in the capital, Pristina, was demolished during the urban renewal in the year 1963. This was over here. A bit more is chronicled with regards to Kosovo, also, which is important also to point out over here from the article. Currently, there are few Jews, as we said before. Now, according to a person, Seda Prilkevic, the leader of the Pristina small Jewish community, the lone Jewish community in prison speaks Albanian and Turkish and has remained for the time being. This community numbers 50 people, divided among 3 families. There are no Jewish schools. Unemployment is prevalent, apparently, and support for the community comes from the American Jewish Joint Distribution Committee. There's been, let's just say, some amount of intermarriage within the surrounding Albanian community. Obviously, we don't celebrate that. We want a thriving Jewish community. We're talking all about, obviously, so that's definitely a massive issue. The father of Votim Demiri, prison's Jewish community leader, is Albanian, reports over. Israel currently has very good relations, I think, with the Kosovans in general, so that's something also to point out. With the Israeli government sending massive humanitarian aid during and after the 1998-1999 war with the Slobodan Milosevic regime. And as of the year 2020, Israel has recognized Kosovo's independence, and Kosovo moved its embassy to Jerusalem. I'm not sure what happened there, but that is definitely very, very welcoming news. Kosovo has adopted the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance's working definition of anti-Semitism to support international efforts in combating anti-Semitism. So over here, so if anyone knows of any more information of famous rabbis that might have come from Kosovo, I'd really, really appreciate it. If anyone have any information on the rabbi we spoke about at the start of this class, I think Rabbi Sabat Kamki, I would also really appreciate that, also to hear more information. I was trying to find information of history from yesterday. Remember, on this series we've spoken about various rabbis that were from different parts of Yugoslavia, especially from Belgrade, from Bosnia. We've spoken about rabbis from Croatia, and I think maybe even from Slovenia we spoke about a couple of rabbis over here, but I don't think per se we've spoken much about rabbis that actually hail from Kosovo, so that will be very, very interesting to learn more within regards to that, if you know of any. I think, if I'm not mistaken, there were some Chabad rabbis connected with the Chabad sect that was, or are rabbis, are stationed in Kosovo currently, but as I said before, the Jewish community there happens to be very, very small currently. So that will be a definitely challenge for everyone going there. I don't know how many people visit there for holiday, so obviously there'll be activity going on the whole time. People might be visiting there for business, especially if there's strong relations between Israel and Kosovo. But that's something I'll have to look more into. Now, friends, we're a community here. We're learning about famous different Jewish communities here on this series. We're learning about famous rabbis of yesteryear. We've recorded about 1,200 biography videos of great rabbis from yesteryear, mostly from Sephardic countries, Ottoman parts, from North Africa, from Asia, from Spain, respectively. So if you descend from any of the great rabbis we are speaking about here in this series, please send me an email. I would love to hear more information. Also, if anyone is interested in watching any of these videos, please also share these videos also to other people and help the community grow. We're nearing 7,000 subscribers at the moment, which is an absolutely phenomenal achievement at the moment. We're going from strength to strength. And don't forget to watch the video. We did a video actually on the history of the synagogues of Bosnia. That's another part of Yugoslavia. I'd love to do a video on Yugoslavia outright, maybe Croatia also, to explore the Jewish life and Jewish history over there at one stage in time. We also did a special video of the famous Bosnian rabbinic seminary, which stood in the early 1900s. If anyone wants to watch over the previous videos we've done inside the series. So, on that note, wishing you a Shabbat Tov and good day. Just recording this just from the holy city of Jerusalem, just on the bus at the moment, going at the moment to the city of Bet Shemesh here in Israel from Jerusalem. So nothing like it. So on that note, wishing you a great day. Thanks for watching and subscribe. Thank you.